Man, another tough loss for the Los Angeles Rams in a game that I think we were all pretty confident going into it that they're going to be able to get a win. You have the narrative like Raheem Morris and him knowing Sean McVay and potential trap game, all that kind of stuff. So you're aware of that as an NFL fan, but you still expect this Rams team after that whole long break that they had between that Seattle game, which feels like forever ago on Thursday Night Football, and now you expect them to be well rested, come in with good game plan, come out, could win. Saw a lot of blowout predictions. I think I was one of them. I can't even remember my score prediction, but I felt really confident going into this game. And to come out losing this one in the way that we did, 27-24 to the Atlanta Falcons in prime time, in the game where like we clearly didn't play our best football by any stretch of the imagination, really rallied well and came back really well. But this was not a great game by the Los Angeles Rams. And on top of that, the Falcons were playing a really good game, had a really good game plan. So hats off to them. You could tell that they weren't defeated and just throwing in the towel because of their record. So I have to give them their credit with what they're able to do with this, and incredible performance by Bijan Robinson, like almost 200 yards rushing. The long run, touchdown run that he had, the plays and the passing, the amount of times he made people miss. Like I know how good Bijan Robinson is, but to have to play against him was even worse than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. But losing this game in the way that we did, in the way that the Rams gave us that hope of like, oh, maybe we can be the Seattle to the Rams in this case of what happened to us, where it felt like we were running away with that game last week, Thursday Night Football. Seahawks come back after a great special teams play, and the rest is history. After the Rams got that block and took it all the way back with Jared Verse, I was like, oh, shoot, like, I think we're actually doing this. Like, it felt like that momentum was building just the same as it did against the Seahawks last week, and where that one just didn't go our way. So that was frustrating just to see the fight, the resolve, and the way to be able to stay in this game, despite, like, really, again, this game was not great by the Los Angeles Rams. And it's obvious, even Matthew Stafford having the 3 interceptions that he had in this game, that is so uncharacteristic. I believe he only has 7 on the season this year, so very uncharacteristic for him. Even with just some of I felt like the offense never truly got in rhythm in this game from the start until the end. Like you had some good drives there, here and there. A lot of it was just big plays that would come at different kinds of moments in the game. It wasn't just like methodical long drives moving down the field like we're accustomed to. And I think a big thing with this Rams offense that was holding them back, obviously you got to give credit to the Falcons, what they were able to do with that pass rush, and just obviously how well that they know this Rams team with Raheem Morris. I really did feel like just missing AJ Jackson at left tackle, missing Kevin Dotson really hurt in this game. Because if you guys didn't know, like coming into this game, the Falcons ranked second in total sacks in the NFL. So they are really good at getting pressure. They bring all kinds of blitzes. So for this to be the game that you're missing your left tackle and your right guard, I would argue those two guys are the best on the entire offensive line for the Rams. Going up against this pass rush was never going to be a great matchup. But even with that, you obviously had some mistakes with Stafford and some balls where it just felt like he was just heaving it down the field and just hoping his guy would make a play, and didn't work out a couple times there, and saw him miss high, got picked off by Jesse Bates. So I felt like, again, the offense never really got in rhythm. And I really, really think that we felt the absences of AJ Jackson and Kevin Dotson. This one, particularly AJ Jackson at left tackle. I really thought that pickup that we got from the Cardinals at left tackle, I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden. I don't know how. I really felt like he was going to be a solid backup, like a guy that, we wouldn't miss AJ Jackson a ton. There'd be moments where you felt that, but it felt like all night, just that left side of the offensive line was definitely getting abused. And on 3 different plays that Puka had down the field for touchdowns, DJ Humphries, thank you, Muad'Dib, for touchdowns or just a long play down the field, huge momentum play, there would be a hold or some sort of penalty. There was another one where it was like legal formation. He was too far back. And DJ Humphries definitely did really hurt this team in many ways, because it felt like anytime the Rams got that big kind of play that they needed, a big touchdown, a momentum-changing huge catch down the field by Puka, DJ Humphries had a penalty and it was called back. And that wasn't the whole game. Like, again, the Falcons deserve the credit, but there was also those plays where, like, man, I just wish we had like AJ Jackson out there at left tackle. I just wish we had Kevin Dotson out there, because it felt like that was just kind of messing with the whole rhythm of things. And even to that, sticking in the offensive line, it did feel like the run game they started figuring things out, especially in the second half. First half, it felt like the Rams weren't being nearly as efficient as we've seen them really all year. They've been one of the better running teams in the league, especially efficiency-wise. and it felt like the Falcons were making them earn every yard. It felt like there just weren't as many of those, gaping holes for them to run through. Second half, you really felt like they made those adjustments and were able to get some of those longer runs that we're accustomed to and good efficient plays. But it felt like first half the Falcons were just keeping the Rams in third and long scenarios under heavy duress left and right. You don't have Devontae Adams, and I was still confused to this point. Like, we know we paid Tutu Atwell like $10 million guaranteed for this team, and we saw a lot of 3 receiver sets out there for the Rams and the 11 personnel. And it felt like Tutu Atwell just wasn't getting out there as much as I thought he would, which was still just like surprising. You saw a lot of Muntfield, you saw a lot of Jordan Whittington, which I love, but was kind of surprised to not see Tutu Atwell used a little bit more. But yeah, it just felt like offense for the Rams. Obviously, they were held to 0 points in the whole first half, which has only happened a few other times. Oddly enough, one of the times that it happened was at that same stadium in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. So flashbacks there. But yeah, it felt like the Falcons came to play in this game. It felt like the Rams kind of came in and it came out flat a little bit on top of some of the injuries that they had. And that was just frustrating there. Obviously, Bijan Robinson killed us today, not only on the ground, but through the air. Just got to give him a ton of credit for what he was able to do. He's just a phenomenal player, and I'm a big fan of what he can do. I just hate to see him do it against my team. And it just felt like he was really their offense, because when you look at it, like Kirk Cousins, he made good throws when it was time, but there were a couple balls that could have been intercepted that he threw. He was 13 for 20, 126 yards and a touchdown. Kirk Cousins was, but Bijan Robinson, 22 carries for 195 yards, a touchdown, and even through the air, 5 receptions for 34 yards, a touchdown there. Bijan Robinson was the offense, and man, it was just he was just a tough guy to stop. He's as advertised. Obviously, the Rams don't have to play him all that much, so hopefully we won't have to see him too many more times. But I felt like, yeah, offense didn't get in rhythm a lot until the second half of the game, and that's kind of when momentum swung. Defense felt like they were just kind of, I don't even really know what the right term is for it. They were just kind of playing slow, playing from behind, and the Falcons felt like they were just kind of on it. They didn't come out as flat as the Rams. And then you get down in that hole early where usually the offense can pick the defense up if they're in kind of one of those spells where, the Rams defense just isn't playing great. The Rams offense usually is able to pick them up, but that wasn't really the case this game, which is how it just exploded into that 21-0 start for the Falcons going into halftime. But really, for me, I know we lost this game. It's frustrating. It affects the draft pick. It affects this current season. We may drop from the 5th to the 6th seed, and that is frustrating. I was still happy at least to take this silver lining of the Rams being able to come back from being down 21-0, to have that momentum build, to stay in the game in the way that they did, and still almost at least push this thing to overtime. And that, I know it's like you want your team to be able to go out and win, but that at the very least made me proud to see the Rams be able to come back in this one, because when you're down 21-0 in primetime on the road, things just aren't going your way. It's easy just to tap out of it. But the Rams made this thing a game. I really feel like that special teams play by Jared Verse was incredible to be able to block that, take it all the way back, that infused momentum. The Terrence Ferguson touchdown, incredible, gave us more momentum there. And the drives just continued to build and build. And it was frustrating because on that last drive that Kirk Cousins had in the Falcons that ended up getting them the game-winning field goal, it was either the first or second play of that drive, we brought pressure and Cousins just kind of lollipopped it like up in the air, and Omar Spates or one of our linebackers was right around that area where I thought we had a pick right there, and it was just a couple inches off where we couldn't get it. And you look back to those moments, you're like, man, I just wish we could have taken advantage of the ball that's in the air. It's always a game of inches, obviously. Even that incredible catch that wasn't a catch by Puka Nacua was on the side. I don't even understand how he came close to making that catch. Like, the fact he even made that remotely, like, oh, did he catch that, is insane. Like, Puka Nacua is, like, we know who he is, but a lot of cool moments in this game, even though we lost it. A lot of frustrating moments. Wasn't really a big fan of the officiating a lot of this game, but at the same time, I don't really want to be a fan who blames the officiating and says it's the refs that screwed us up, because there was a lot of other plays to be able to make our own plays. It's just frustrating in key moments when certain calls happen. And I think a lot of that, again, due to some of the offensive linemen being out. There were some obvious holes, but that last one that we had to Puka Nacua, I wasn't quite sure about. But oh man, it's crazy because Rams have lost 5 games this year, and they have all been close. And if you guys don't believe me, I calculated it up. All the losses that the Los Angeles Rams have had this season have been 1-score games, and they have lost by 11 points total across every single loss this year. You combine all the points that they lost by, they've only lost by 11 points in all those losses put together. And a little caveat here, I did say that we lost the Eagles by 1 point, not by like 7 points like it was, because the Eagles blocked the kick. The game was over there. The guy just scooped it up and run it back after that. But really, the Rams lost by 1 to Philadelphia. The scoreboard wouldn't really indicate that. So that's the frustrating part for Rams fans, because you see these games that we could win. There's always the argument of like, oh, we could be undefeated, whatever. But even if I don't go as far as to say this Rams team could be undefeated, just to know that in those 5 losses, we have only lost by 11 points total is both frustrating and encouraging, because like, okay, like, even in games like this game, like the Carolina game in particular, both games where there were turnovers galore from the Rams, from Matthew Stafford, uncharacteristic things where we're just not playing up to what we've seen in a larger scale and sample size. And you still, in the reality, across all those 5 losses, have only lost by 11 points. Again, it's both frustrating and encouraging for the future, and for this team, especially knowing that we're guaranteed a playoff spot. Our season isn't over. But you're frustrated as a fan too, to know like you just want to see these things cleaned up and to not have any more of these kinds of weird games. And man, it really did feel like the Rams were coming back to be able to, just kind of make that comeback that we're not accustomed to seeing the Rams do. And that would have been a lot of fun for sure. But I'm at least glad that it didn't end in a blowout that it could have, and that the Rams made it close. It felt like we had this one. But I also want to give a shout out to special teams. I know that in a loss like this, it's probably going to get forgotten. Obviously, this is the first game for our new special teams coordinator, and everything he was able to do in this game. Chase Blackburn got fired, and the special teams honestly was a reason that we were in a lot of this game, which is an ironic thing to say. You had the Ethan Evans punt that was pinned all the way down at the 1 for the Falcons and really just killed that drive. Outstanding punt by Ethan Evans. You had some good returns in this game. You also had the blocked kick by Jared Verse. You had no misses, no extra point misses, no field goal misses from, why am I forgetting everybody's name? Harrison Mevis. And so special teams, while again, it's going to get forgotten, I think they are actually a bright spot in this game, and we'll take that as Rams fans, especially knowing that, you're missing some key players in the lineup, and knowing that the Rams just didn't play their best game and the Falcons put it all out there and were able to get the win. Knowing going forward that there's at least some ascension in the special teams group with a normal Rams kind of game that we're accustomed to seeing, with the special teams playing well on top of that, that's definitely a win that I would be willing to take. So those are kind of my initial thoughts. I want to see what you guys think here in the chat. A lot of people kind of feeling what I'm thinking. Muad'Dib says, bruh. Second that, bruh. Thanks, Grandizer, for coming in. Muad'Dib says, rip the Bone Unis. That was not the Bone Voyage they deserve. Yeah, shout out to Muad'Dib here. A lot of people probably don't know this. That was probably the last time that the Rams were wearing their bone uniforms ever. I think they're going to get overhauled in 2026. So definitely a sad way for them to go out. At least I guess it wasn't in a blowout loss. The Rams made it close. It's just frustrating. Like every loss the Rams have had this year has been a heartbreaker, and has been one of those where it's like you have that weight in your stomach feeling where you're just like sitting there staring even when the game's over. Like Bijan Robinson's getting interviewed and I'm just sitting there staring. I'm like, man, I can't believe we lost another one this way. But definitely proud of them for being able to fight back. And it's just like, this is definitely not near close to what the Rams normally play like. And you had so much time to be able to prepare coming into this game. I do wonder how much merit there is into the conversations of like, did the Rams, I don't even really want to go down that path actually. Rams house, McVay loses to Raheem so he can keep his job. That's an interesting theory there. Yeah, because a lot of Rams fans think that if Raheem Morris gets fired and loses his job with Atlanta, he's going to come back to be the DC for the Rams after Shula leaves for a head coaching job. So a lot of storylines between all of that. I guess we'll see what happens, though. Breaking news, Bijan Robinson runs for another 10 yards. Yeah, he probably is still running for more yards in the Rams locker room, honestly. That guy's incredible. Finally got a special teams touchdown. I know, Muad'Dib, that was crazy. The special teams showed up in this game, and good to see it happen. I get these things corrected. Obviously, this is just one game of sample size, but if we can continue to see this moving forward into the playoffs and have special teams be a legitimate weapon, I'm happy. And it's crazy to see that stat that they put up. Like the last time the Rams had a blocked kick and took it back for a touchdown was 1986. I was like, I can't believe it's been that long. It's felt like a while, but I can't believe it's been that long. Smitty, thanks for coming in. Says 4-game losing streak to end your season. Luckily, our season isn't even over after next week. We get playoff football. So we'll see what ends up happening, though. We'll see what ends up happening. Thanks for coming in, Smitty. I think we can get Mekhi Lemon to replace Tutu Atwell next season. I've heard a lot of his name. We'll see what the Rams end up doing. It'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with all that draft capital and what they can do in the offseason. But definitely glad we're not in offseason mode right now. We still got more football to play. And as frustrating as these losses have been in this season, whether it be the one that we faced tonight, all the other ones that we faced, it's encouraging to know that these are not playoff losses. You really don't want to see these recurring things come up in the playoffs, and some of the things where you lose in a devastating, like heartbreaker, close one. That was kind of a lot of your mistakes leading you down that path. But it is encouraging to know that you were able to learn from these things in the regular season. And that's what encourages me most, is that our season is still alive right now and we're not fighting for a playoff spot. I think this loss would hurt a lot more if the Rams were kind of teetering on if they were going to make the playoffs or not. But knowing that we get games extended past the regular season does give me hope. And knowing that the number 1 seed was already out of the question coming into tonight definitely makes me feel a little bit more encouraged, I guess is the right word. Greg, thanks for coming in. Says the problem is the Rams defense. They should be able to hold their with Stafford problems. Yeah. I do think that the Rams defense is missing Quentin Lake a lot. I can't wait to see him back in action because there has been a drop-off since Quentin Lake went down with the injury over a month ago at this point, I believe, but he's going to be coming back soon. Hopefully the Rams defense can continue to step up. I did like the way that they were able to respond in the second half. You obviously gave up 21 in the first half and held the Falcons to 27 at the end. And actually the Rams defense didn't even give up 21 in the first half because there was a pick six that happened there. But regardless, I think that they played better in the second half, but you do feel like there's another gear that this Rams defense can hit. And it does feel like there's more potential for them. They do make some key plays and key moments at times, but you definitely do want to see more consistency in the pass rush and just getting some more turnovers for sure. So I'm kind of with you there. Yeah, Paul, thanks for coming in. Says Robinson did a Saquon on us. I was texting my brother because he was just like updating through the game, like, oh, like the Rams are coming back in this one, whatever. And I was like, man, like Bijan Robinson has me more scared than what Saquon did last year. It just felt like any play he could just break it there. And he was definitely the key to this Falcons win. Like if they don't have Bijan Robinson, it's obvious they don't win this game. Like he was just incredible playmaker there. Rams lost today. Next game. Yeah, that's kind of my mentality with it. It's frustrating. I would like to say I'm getting more numb to these losses of like heartbreaker close ones that you probably should win or could win coming back. But no, yeah, I'm just kind of in that spot where I'm like, next game, we lost today. Next game, playoffs is kind of where my mindset is at right now. Just get out, get healthy, be ready for the playoffs, that kind of thing. Humphreys cost them 2 good plays. The defense was not good, not at the game. It was obvious that they were going heavy to Robinson. Chula did make adjustments at the half. I agree. Humphreys definitely cost them. I think that he cost them 3 big plays. Actually, he had 3 because he had 2 holding calls that called back 2 Puka touchdowns. And then the other one was the legal formation, which called back a big catch that Puka had down the field to get him close to the end zone. So you definitely felt Humphreys in there. And like, there's really nothing he can do. I mean, he's the backup, but it was frustrating to see that for sure. Paul says Stafford wasn't ball security minded today. Yeah, and that's what frustrates me. I'm not mad at Stafford, but I'm mad and frustrated because I believe this game probably lost the MVP for Matthew Stafford. It's probably going to Drake May now. Now, like for me, I can understand why the debate of MVP is so close between Drake May and Matthew Stafford. There's legitimate arguments for both of them, and I agree with both of them. I still personally, and this is probably Rams bias, would love Stafford to get it and still think he deserves it. Just even looking at numbers alone, he's really only had 2 bad games this year when it comes to just stats, and that's the Carolina game and that's this game, and those were the turnover games that he had. Other than that, he's been really ball secure, making a lot of big plays down the field, getting touchdowns. I'm just hoping that this didn't lose Stafford as MVP. Obviously, above all else, we just won a Super Bowl. But like that's what we are desiring more than MVP. But I just want Stafford to get the recognition, and it's crazy because I feel like for bigger name quarterbacks like Josh Allen or even what Drake May's turned into, like they almost have more grace for a bad game. But for Stafford, it's like if he has a bad game, it's like, oh, like turn the lights off. This MVP candidacy is over, and that's from my perspective what it feels like. But I still hope he's able to get that MVP because even with a bad game today, it's like that you wouldn't be in this position in this point in the season, and the incredible plays that we've seen, the amount of elevating, like I guess, leadership that he brings to this team it can't be understated. So I just hope that he gets that MVP, but we'll see. 100 these 5 losses on McVay, he costing the Rams a Super Bowl 2 years in a row, possibly. I wouldn't get too far ahead of myself if I were you, because we aren't even in playoff football yet. The Rams were not at their best health-wise. There's definitely been some interesting things with McVay, but I don't really know how you can look at McVay and say he's the one that's causing these turnovers that Stafford had. Like, I don't want to put all the blame on Stafford, but it's like McVay is the one calling the plays. He's the one doing things. He deserves blame at times, but I think he gets blamed too fast sometimes. And it's like I guess for me, if you're still here in the chat, I would be wondering what you would want him to do better in this game and what you think he did wrong. Just out of curiosity standpoint, I'd love to know. Jared Verse piece. Yeah, that was awesome. Jared Verse, 2 touchdowns in his first two years of his career. That's incredible. Steve, thanks for coming in. Says, this had jet lag written all over it. How can you expect to win this game when you fly across the country today and play a game in a few hours? Complete stupidity. They needed a few days in Atlanta. Did they fly out today? I thought they flew out yesterday, or maybe even 2 days ago. I could be wrong on this, but I don't really know if that was jet lag. I appreciate your perspective on it, but I mean, I guess a night game in Atlanta, you had all the way from Thursday night football against the Seahawks. You didn't play at all on Sunday, came all the way back around. For me personally, I don't know if I put it on jet lag, but I'm curious to hear your perspective on that. I disagree with this. Rams going out in the first round. I would say it's not definitive. I say it's definitely a possibility because that just the NFC is that good. I wouldn't say that the Rams are going out first round definitively, though, especially after that. Like, there's just a lot of knee-jerk reactions after games like this. But Tutu's arm was held. I was definitely getting mad at that they didn't call the pass interference on that play. But when Aikman said that in real time, seeing that happening with the hand fighting that was going on and how he understood how that wasn't a flag, I was like, I guess that's true. Like, in real time, that did kind of look like they're hand fighting, but it is frustrating because it felt like, it feels like sometimes the Rams are on the wrong end of calls, even though we had the biggest blown call in history against the Saints for sure. But yeah, that definitely was true for sure. 2 straight losses, not good for confidence. It's going to be interesting too, because 2 straight losses and then going into Arizona, well, they're going to be coming here to SoFi for the last game of the season. I'm going to be curious if the Rams sit their starters and play it that way, or if they're going to play them, try to get the win, get some momentum. For me, I think the Rams are confident enough to be able to rest their starters, get whatever seed that they want to get, go into the playoffs, even potentially losing 3 consecutive games if they play their backups in that last game of the season. I think they're that confident where they don't care about, we've lost 3 in a row. I think they know what kind of team they are. Getting Devontae Adams back is going to be massive. Getting A.J. Jackson back is going to be massive. Getting Quentin Lake is going to be massive. And Rams playoff football versus Rams regular season football is 2 completely different things. So we'll see what ends up happening. I'm very curious to see what their decision is. If I were to put money on it, I would say that the Rams are probably resting starters next week, and they don't care about if they want to get the win, but the win against Arizona next week with backups in won't really affect what they do in the playoffs from my perspective. Grandizers, he says, question, Rams house, patterns and trends. Does this losing streak worry you going into the playoffs? Did the Rams peak too soon, even if they beat the Cardinals? Hopefully you're okay with this. With what I was just saying earlier, I don't want to really repeat myself. That's kind of how I feel about it with this team. I truly think we can match up with anybody, beat anybody. I just talked about in the 5 losses, the combined points in those losses that we've lost by is only 11. This team, as long as we stay healthy, if we get super banged up and injured at a bunch of key positions, that's where I start to get worried. But I do feel confident about this team against anybody. I do think that they have things saved for the playoffs. And wherever they play, I think that the Rams have a really good shot. But I also do acknowledge that the NFC is really good this year, so there are probably going to be some close games. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Oh, Paul, good point. I forgot about this play. The big missed pass to X and big missed 2-2 PI. That missed pass to X down there on that little corner, they had like the levels working there. That's the exact play that the Rams did against the Carolina Panthers all those weeks ago to Xavier Smith. Oh man, it was so frustrating that like you're off by that much. And Stafford is like he's always nails like in the 2 minute drill and all those kinds of situations. But in that kind of situation to miss Xavier Smith there on that route to be able to set you up for a field goal, that one definitely ripped my heart out there for sure. Defense is not good enough to win a Super Bowl. Moral victories are nothing. It's a loss. I guess we'll see in a couple of weeks. Same thing happened in Carolina. Jet lag. Are they that cheap that the Rams don't want to pay for the hotel? I'd be curious. I really like. I can't tell you confidently if the Rams flew out there today or yesterday or 2 days ago. I really don't think that plays super like a crazy amount into it because I think a lot of people are forgetting that the Rams flew into London to play the Jacksonville Jaguars literally the day before, and usually teams spend the whole week out there to get acclimated. The Rams did it the day before they played in London against the Jaguars, and they won in blowout fashion. So I don't really know how much is jet lag. The Rams have been doing this for a long time. They've actually been really good on those East Coast kind of trips, even like in the morning slot when everybody says like the West Coast team going to the East Coast team early is going to hurt them. Usually the Rams do well. So I wouldn't put this up to jet lag, but that's just me. It's the same comment 3 times. Missed opportunity to prove playoff medal for sure. Ugliest uniform ever is what you're responding to the bone one. Yeah, well, you're not probably going to see it ever again, so I bet you're happy about that. Rams house. Rams players stock up and stock down. Stock up on Jared Verse, definitely making that impact play. Everybody's always talking about like what happened to Jared Verse. Where is he? Like, he's disappeared? Have you seen me on the milk carton kind of thing? I still like Jared Verse is disrupting every play, even when he's not getting sacks. He was getting some good pressure in this game. Obviously, the blocked kick, taking it all the way back for a touchdown. I don't think the Rams get back in this game if that doesn't happen, because at that point, the Falcons extend their lead. Rams morale is still down. So I'd go Jared Verse for a stock up. I would also go Kyron Williams. Had a good game, especially second half. First half, they weren't really finding much, but there's one drive in particular where Kyron took it for 21 yards on a run, took it for another 16 or 15 kind of yards, and then got a little dump off pass, then got another pass, and then he's great in pass protection. So I'd put Kyron Williams in that. I feel like I'm missing a very obvious Terrence Ferguson getting that touchdown there, just getting more and more involved. Definitely the most explosive tight end, not only just athletically, but also just reflected in the amount of yards he gets in the tight end room for the Rams. He is clearly the most explosive kind of player out of that room. And every touchdown, every catch he gets seems to be one of those big plays. So I'd put Terrence Ferguson in a stock up, definitely stocking down a guy who I'm already forgetting the name. Somebody, Muad'Dib reminded me earlier at left tackle. I need to find it in the comments here. I don't know why it's slipping my mind right now. Well, his name is slipping my mind again. But the left tackle that filled in from the Cardinals, DJ Humphries. I need to get that in my head. I don't know why I keep forgetting. Definitely stock down for him. Just a lot of bad reps today, letting up some pressures. He's the backup, but letting up pressures, key penalties that called back big plays. And you really did feel the absence of A.J. Jackson. And I mean, you expect that when you go from your starter to your backup, but it was frustrating because you see Rob Havenstein go down at right tackle all those weeks ago. Warren McClendon comes in, former 5th-round pick, a guy who's been the backup for a while. He comes in, and there's almost like no drop-off. In fact, they've probably gotten better. So I think as a Rams fan, you're hoping just for minimal damage, but it did feel like DJ Humphries kind of deserves to be in stock down, unfortunately. I would also put Cam Kitchens in stock down. There were a couple of plays, especially earlier on, where he was just, it looked like from my perspective, I don't know what the defensive call was, but it looked like he was in the wrong spot. Troy Aikman pointed out on that kind of like between the two zones of cover 2 with the flat and the deep safety area where Kitchens was. Kitchens didn't get like react over to the corner route fast enough and was playing a little bit soft. And then on that Bijan one, that one was hard where he scored a touchdown through the air, not in the right spot there. So I would put him in there. I feel like there's another one. Colby Parkinson, I would probably put back in stock up. He had a drop early on in the game, which was hard, but he had made a lot of big catches later in the game and a lot of ones that kind of got you into more favorable down and distances. So I'd put Colby Parkinson in there. Stock down, unfortunately, for Matthew Stafford. Just 3 interceptions is very frustrating. I know that he was working with some backup players on the offensive line. You didn't have Devontae Adams again, and it wasn't the most ideal situation, but 3 turnovers definitely lost you this game, even though he made some plays to get you back in it. So I'd put him in stock down, unfortunately, and that's the ones I can think of right now. Let's see. Rams house. Was this more of a game where the Rams looked rusty or where the Rams struggle when teams run heavy on them with a decent running back? That's a good question. I think I wouldn't say it was rust for the Rams with just like how long it's been since they've played a game. I just feel like they came out flat. I feel like their game plan wasn't great. And I don't know, maybe they took the Falcons lightly. I'm not sure. But I wouldn't put it up to rust. I would just put it up to just coming out flat. It didn't really feel like they were really in it at the start. And the Falcons came in it with a great game plan. It felt like they were playing like their jobs were on the line. And I feel like I don't know. The Rams have had really good run defense this year against a lot of the top running backs, and that kind of gets forgotten. But like Nate Landman and Poona Ford have been big additions. But it does feel like, especially in the later half of the season, there's been those big explosive runs, like the Kenneth Walker one, like Bijan. But the frustrating thing is, like with players like those, it's like all they need to do is make one guy miss, and they're gone. And it's like you can have every other guy in the right spot. They make one guy miss, and they're going to punish you, and that's the frustrating thing. Bijan obviously had an incredible day today. He was just like, I don't think the Rams have seen a running back like him since probably Saquon last year. And he definitely made them pay for how much he was making them miss. So I think it was a little combination of both, but I don't even think it was like the Falcons running a lot that really killed us. It was just those big runs, those explosive runs that killed us, on top of the fact that the offense didn't put up any points in the first half and Stafford was throwing in interceptions. So I think it was kind of a combination of those things. After Seattle, McVay said we don't lose, we learn. So what happened? I don't know. This was honestly, I couldn't tell you. I was thinking about that. He was talking about like how they're going to come back swinging. He thinks that they're going to like win 6 in a row, like all that kind of stuff. I honestly couldn't tell you what happened. I think it's just a week to week kind of league. Unfortunate things and situations for the Rams, and even with everything going wrong that did go wrong, they still almost came back and won. So I don't know. Couldn't tell you honestly. Key factor all game that contributed to Stafford's shaky start was the backup offensive line guys. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that really threw off the rhythm because even not only in pass protection, even in the run game, there just weren't that many great lanes. There were a lot of guys kind of getting around Kyron and Corum. Hopefully Corum gets better, getting on them early to where, again, you're getting into a lot of 3rd and long scenarios. Stafford's internal clock was speeding up faster than it probably has been all season, where he's thinking he's just got to get the ball out as soon as he can. And we haven't seen Stafford miss high on a dig route in a long time. That one obviously was taken back to the house by Jesse Bates. And that one I think does go back to, again, the offensive line. Just there was constant duress on him. And this season, the Rams offensive line has been so good that I think that definitely did kind of throw off Stafford a little bit. Rams house. I read where some Rams fans said a win or a loss versus the Falcons does little with the playoff seed. Rams had to get the number 1 spot, and the Falcons draft spot won't change drastically either. Yeah, really, the result of this game doesn't change a ton. It does change the draft spot, but it probably won't by that much. I think the lowest the pick can get, or like the worst it can get, is like the 12th or 13th overall pick, which is still pretty good, honestly. So obviously the draft pick does get worse, but number 1 seed was out of the question. We knew that coming into tonight. The worst thing that could happen for the Rams with this result is them dropping to the 6 seed rather than the 5 seed. So instead of playing like the Panthers or playing the Buccaneers, you're probably going to get Philadelphia or Chicago. Now, if the Rams win next week versus the Cardinals, even with backups in, which I think is still kind of a sneaky underrated thing that could happen, if that happens and the 49ers lose to the Seahawks, the Rams still keep that 5 seed and still get to play the NFC South with the Panthers or the Bucs, and they wouldn't have to go to Chicago or Philadelphia. But really, that's the worst that could happen with the loss of this game is your draft pick gets a little bit worse, and your seeding potentially goes from the 5th to the 6th. So that's really what happens with this loss. Meaning, say the Rams. Yeah, the pick won't. Yeah, the pick was never going to jump to the top 3 or top 5, even if the Rams won this game. Yeah. Use Tutu more with no Adams, more proven than Smith. I honestly am so confused what's happening with the Tutu Atwell situation. Like really does confuse me with the contract that he got. And then in situations like this where you don't have Devontae Adams, and the Rams really did run a lot of that 13 or not 13 personnel, they ran a lot of 11 personnel. So you had 3 receivers out there. Saw a lot of Mumpfield, a lot of Whittington, and even times when Puka was off the field, and was just surprised Tutu didn't get that much usage because he got paid the big contract. He's had a lot of big moments for the Rams, even going back to that Colts game all the way back in week 3. He's had a lot of those big moments, and I don't really know what's going on with that Tutu situation because he has the experience, has made plays, knows the offense. It's not that like I don't really know what's going on there. But Paul says silver lining Super Bowl year. We had no win November, ended with about the same record with a wild card. That is a good silver lining there for sure. Yeah, I really don't feel super panicked about this team. And a lot of people are going to say just because like you're a fan of the team, you're not going to want to panic. Like for me, I don't want to be panicking about this team unless these things are showing up in the playoffs. To me, playoff Rams football is going to be different than what we are seeing to end this season, especially with getting key guys back. So that's kind of my perspective on it, but we'll see what ends up happening when it gets there. But good point there. Oh, no, you're good, Grandizer. 72, very bad. Yeah, I should have just been saying 72 because I kept forgetting DJ Humphrey's name, unfortunately. Simply lining up worse cost us that big play. I know, isn't that it's just crazy how precise you have to be, and we take for granted like any NFL offense going up against whoever it is. Like those illegal formations not typically happening when you have those starters in or those holding calls, and you just take for granted as a fan that that's just like expected. But when you have a backup going there like DJ Humphries, where a lot of those kind of penalties were happening, and you're really feeling those mistakes, you're like, man, like I was definitely taking for granted the smooth operation of this offense when we had our starters out there. Sincere like sports, thanks for coming in. Says, man, what is happening? This game, honestly, like I don't really know how this game got out of hand so fast. Like, I guess the part that confuses me is just how they came out so flat. Like, it really didn't feel like they had a deep desire to win this game. And I hate the argument of like, oh, well, this team just wanted it more than us. Like, I really don't like that kind of narrative. But it did feel like in the first half, I was like, oh, wow, the Falcons came to play. They won it. We're just kind of like, we're just kind of playing along, just seeing what ends up happening. And you obviously had those injuries, which affected things, obviously, but just little things where it was like it felt like we were kind of sleepwalking through that first half. Second half, we were making that comeback bid. Obviously, it didn't come to fruition, but honestly, don't know what happened in this game. Like, I feel like maybe after I sleep on it, I'll have a better thing. I really do think that those offensive line injuries did hurt the Rams in the offensive performance, but I don't think that it should hurt you so much to where you don't have any points in the first half, and those turnovers are happening left and right, and just a lot of weird things happen in this game. And I'm still not panicking about this team, that's for sure. But yeah, this game was definitely very confusing, especially after a long week of rest and preparing. Screen McVay said the starters would start next week. Oh, really? Thanks for coming in, Ryan, for saying that. I haven't seen the press conferences, obviously, because going live right after the game. I'm very curious to be able to hear that, because last year the Rams had a chance to get, I don't even remember what the seed was, but you could get either like this seed or you could go and drop down to this seed. And last year the Rams had the chance to get that good seed if they played their starters against the Seahawks, but they decided not to, and they lost that game and they got the worst seed, but they didn't care. Like, they were just preaching like anybody, any place, like just go play. They believed in their team. So I'd be surprised if McVay changed the approach. Maybe it's for momentum purposes of getting a big win going into the playoffs, but that's definitely very different from what he's done in years past and what he's just kind of stood behind. So thanks for that information there. I definitely didn't know that, but yeah, this game as a whole, frustrating. I mean, it felt like we haven't seen the Rams play in years. It really did, at least for me. It just feels like it's been forever since we've seen the Rams suit up and go play a football game. And to be able to have to sit in that ugly loss against the Seahawks, frustrating overtime loss to a division opponent where you lost the 1 seed to them there on Thursday Night Football after being up like 16 points with 8 minutes left, to sit on that for as long as we did, to come into this primetime game and then just have a loss like this, it's frustrating. I think I would be more frustrated if the Rams just continue to get blown out, like if it was 40-10 at the end of the game or something weird like that. Them coming back definitely gave me a little bit more not even optimism, because I still felt good about the team going forward, but I guess just like gave more hope. I don't even know how to put it. So frustrating to lose this game. Definitely think there's a lot of contributing factors from the offensive line being hurt that kind of just throwing off the rhythm of the offense, from the Atlanta Falcons coming to play and playing desperately and having a really good game plan, to just not being able to do enough to be able to come back and win this game. Like, you were close, you almost did it. And it just felt like one of those weird off games. The Rams, every team has those kinds of games, and just frustrating to have it happen for sure. But just glad it doesn't cost us a ton in the long run, because at worst, our draft pick is just 2 picks worse than it was. And at worst, you're going to drop from the 5th seed to the 6th seed. Like, big deal. That's kind of the thing. I think this game would be really frustrating if you lost it with the 1 seed on the line and you lose to the Falcons, and that's what gives up your 1 seed, or even worse, playoffs. Like, if we were playing the Carolina Panthers and something like this happened, I would be like, are you kidding me? Like, in the playoffs, this is how we're going to go out. But honestly, my mind is just set on the playoffs right now. I really shifted to like complete playoff mode last night when the 49ers beat the Bears, and we knew, okay, like 1 seed is out of the question. From that moment on, I was like, okay, like I want to win Atlanta. I want to win Arizona. Obviously, I'm a fan of the team. I want that to happen. But my shift was just like switching to a focus of, okay, like playoff mode. When's our next playoff game? And that's just kind of where I'm at right now. So Paul says it was a Falcons Landman thing. Yeah, Landman played pretty well early on, honestly. It was good to see him playing well out there. Glad he didn't get super hurt. And that's obviously the biggest thing going into the playoffs, is just like stay healthy, bring in some good momentum. Obviously, we'll see if the Rams do actually play their starters next week, try to get a win, bring in some momentum or not. To me, regardless of how they go into the playoffs, whether they lose again next week and go into the playoffs with that, or if they play starters and win that game, I do feel good about them in the playoffs as long as they can stay healthy. And that's just where my sights are at right now. Frustrating loss, but thank you guys all for staying here just to talk about this loss with me and kind of air out your feelings and let me air out my feelings on this game. This week, the preview for Rams Cardinals is going to be probably a day or two later. Usually they come out on Tuesdays, which would be tomorrow. So short week for me. But I'm thinking maybe this week my game preview is going to be a live stream, kind of similar format of what I do on the videos, but it'll be live stream format for you guys. Probably somewhere, I'm thinking like ballparking around Thursday, to be able to do that live with you guys, just because it would be tough to be able to turn around tomorrow and make the game preview video, because usually during Monday Night Football, that's when I make most of the graphics for the video of the preview. So during the Rams game, I couldn't do that. So I think that Thursday, somewhere around there, is when I'm going to be doing the game preview for Rams Cardinals, and that will be live streamed versus a video. So can't wait to see you guys there. Grand Desert says, thanks for Rams House. Let it out, my guy. If you went to break a window, we understand. I'd love to break a window. I'll probably just have to do the payout time and scream into a pillow or punch a cereal box, or all the above. But yeah, that's gonna about do it here for Rams House. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I appreciate you guys spending time with me and airing out your frustrations